Last time we talked Girls and Panzer, we took a look at part 2 of the main Dare film battle from a storytelling perspective. Today we'll be focusing on the technical and tactical aspects of this portion of the battle, and fortunately there's quite a bit to discuss. So let's get right into it. At the end of, for lack of a better term, the first round of the battle, the Orari conglomerate team successfully managed a mostly organized withdrawal as the strike team took out the university team's single most powerful weapon, the Karl Gerät, as well as a few of their tanks to make the initial clash less lopsided in terms of losses. However, make no mistake, it was clearly a loss for the Orari team, and they were definitely on the back foot here. Fortunately for them, the university team opted not to attempt a pursuit, as a withdrawal into the amusement park took place, so the Orari conglomerate team got a moment to breathe, as well as a chance to retool their approach to this match. Trying to fight the university team on an even playing field on open terrain had clearly failed miserably. While it can be argued that this was never a great plan, it's easy to Monday morning quarterback this type of thing. What's much more important, and what shows a lot more of both the skill and mettle of Miho, her sub-commanders, and the rest of the team, is that they were both capable of, and willing to, drastically alter their tactics mid-match like this. That's something that's a lot harder to do than it seems, and this sort of flexibility, or lack thereof, can easily determine the course of a battle. As to the new approach itself, it's rather simple, and, fortunately, well suited for the more urban battlefield that the amusement park provides. Basically, all the various school representatives that make up this combined team are now freed up to fight in the style that they are more familiar with, while remaining in coordination with each other. This is probably the best way to go, given the very hasty way in which the team was formed, preventing them from having practice with each other and formed a more cohesive, combined battle plan. Remember, apart from that mixed team match earlier in the film, and possibly some other small-scale off-screen stuff, these girls from different schools with very different tank lineups and very different strategic mindsets have never worked alongside each other like this. This new approach lets everyone play to their strengths, and between new communication and there being at least some overlap between styles, will allow for combined actions when needed. You can almost compare this to how modern combined arms warfare operates. Just instead of different military branches cooperating and coordinating as they each do their thing, it's the disparate components of this ad hoc tank force. Unfortunately for Orari, however, the university team isn't scrambling to adapt their battle plans here. While they undoubtedly would have preferred to finish things up in that first engagement, where they held pretty much every advantage, they're seasoned, level-headed professionals who had either already prepared contingency plans or just had the knowledge and the skill to react to changes like this and move forward. It was also probably a wise decision on their part to not attempt to continue the pursuit, as Orari withdrew amid the short-lived rainstorm, given how spread out the university team's tanks had already gotten. So they instead regroup and then proceed with their assault on the amusement park, with a plan already underway, as we'll soon see. Before we get further into this analysis, however, this week's video is brought to you by my upcoming original manga, Amaranth Angels. Cute anime girls, starfighters, and exciting space battles in a fun space adventure. Written by a fan of Girls and Panzer, for other fans of Girls and Panzer, and the military mori genre in general. The first volume should hopefully, finally, be out sometime this winter, and you can pre-order a copy today over on Fund My Comic. Now, back to the video. Inside the amusement park, meanwhile, the Orari conglomerate team quickly sets up a defense. They likely knew they wouldn't be able to fully cover all three possible entrances, and it's unclear whether they closed or blocked them all themselves, or if some were already kind of blocked off from just being unused. But having forces near each of them would obviously serve to both delay the enemy breakthrough and provide crucial warning, since, as we'll see, battlefield intelligence is going to play a major role here, as it does in real life. Most important in that area is the underrated MVP of the match, the Anzio girls in their tiny tankette. Fresh off having helped out take out the Karl, they now use their small and low-profile vehicle to climb the roller coaster tracks and get a bird's-eye view of the entire battle space. In the center of the amusement park, Miho and Anglerfish team are also on some high ground to get a better look as well. And when enemy forces are spotted approaching by a dust cloud, as a large group of tanks would make on dusty ground, we'll get back to this in a minute, she's able to then quickly dispatch a response team to the exit they appear to be approaching. Also, it's quick, but you can note that Sayori, inside the Panzer IV, has a map of the amusement park and is using magnets to represent the locations of their tanks. Another reminder of just how well they did prepare for this, and of how important keeping track of everything is in a battle like this. And Sayori, as the radio operator, is the obvious choice for that job. It's a simple little thing, but it's yet another instance of the show's creators going above and beyond to show the girls conducting this battle in a very sensible way, similar to how a real wartime commander might, and reinforcing the importance of keeping track of where your units are. However, as we know, things are not quite what they seem. While it's true that the university team could have been intentionally stirring up dust to make an attack force seem larger than it was, another tried and true tactic, and actually not too unlike Anzio's Operation Macaroni from the OVA, some of the girls start to suspect something is up, with one attack force staying hidden in the dust cloud, and the relatively small amount of fire coming from it. Then they figure out what's actually going on. After all, this much dust wouldn't make sense given the recent rain. In terms of a story plot, that rain was not just to make the prop the sacrifice dramatic. The impact of that rain is seen again here, and will be seen again later on. So the wily university students have pulled a fast one on Orari, tricking them into thinking this force was their main one, while their real attack groups move to break through at other entrances, with most of Orari's strongest tanks now out of position. Orari's team isn't the only one capable of a little bit of trickery, and it's yet another reminder that the university team is as good as we've been told. There's still really not much in the way of overconfidence with them either. We don't see them arrogantly trying to just direct attack with everything. This is why Alice is such a perfect rival for Miho, as they think alike in many respects. But as for the battle itself, all Miho can do right now is warn the units at the other gates of what's coming, and send the Saunders team to aid the lightly armed Chiatan group. Also probably because she knew there was a chance they'd try and do a mindless charge again. However, thanks to Fukuda, they're going to take their first major step toward their own Senshiro development, as we'll soon see. At the same time, over by the third entrance, where the St. Gloriana tanks, along with some others, are positioned, I'd also be remiss not to mention that Rosip's tank, again, just cannot stay still, prepares for the incoming enemy breakthrough attempt. Fortunately, Darjeeling quickly realizes that they are up against something much more dangerous than anticipated, and gets Rosip to call off her own reckless charge just in time. To ensure that this breakthrough goes off without a hitch, the university team has deployed their other secret weapon, the T-28 heavy tank. The most heavily armored tank, though technically more of an assault gun since it lacks a turret, leads the breakthrough, being basically immune to the fire from Orari's tanks. There's really not much the group could do here to hold back the attack force, which the ever-helpful Anzio, up on the tracks, confirms is in fact the main enemy attack force. And they are quickly forced to start falling back and to mount a fighting retreat. Once again, the university plan appears to be working largely as intended. Alice is much too clever, though, to put all her eggs in one or even two baskets, and has another force break through by Chiatan's gate where, due to the Saunders tanks having been rerouted again, they're on their own. Fortunately, they're following Fukuda's plan, concealing themselves and lying in ambush. Then, in a nearly perfect execution of a well-used, tried-and-true tactic against armored columns, they track the lead and rear vehicles while the column is on a narrow bridge, forcing them all to stop and giving Tamada a chance to get in close and take one out. Of course, in Chiatan fashion, she almost overcommits, but just barely manages to withdraw in time. It's also always nice seeing a tank take a glancing blow where the shell doesn't really do any damage, given how often that would happen in real battles. Despite that victory, though, the Chiatan group couldn't hope to hold back the university team unit for long, so they withdraw while Maho, Katusha, and Erika, after confirming there's only a small diversionary force engaging them, go on the offensive and take out most of them before heading to regroup with the rest of the team, withdrawing further into the amusement park. As they engage the main Orari force, and there's good use of cover and angling here, so we don't see anyone on either side getting taken out right away, the university attack groups maintain good communication with their commander, keeping her up to date on enemy movements as well as what they plan to do. And based on that, Alice orders another change in approach. Given that the Orari conglomerate team was resisting being split up, they'd play their game. After all, Alice's team still has the advantage in a large-scale direct confrontation, and it's simple enough for them to all press the attack with the T-28, and position themselves to effectively herd the Orari team in the direction they want. It's also worth taking a minute to acknowledge Alice's different leadership style from Miho. While there is a fair bit of overlap in their approach to tactics, Miho is more of a frontline commander, as we've seen previously. This is at least in part due to necessity, given how small the Orari team has been, while Alice is comfortable taking a more rearward position, from which she can more safely and calmly receive and assess information and give orders. However, as part of their parallels to each other, we do see Miho and Alice both adopting each other's approach at times, such as Miho taking her tank to the back line in the center of the amusement park earlier to get into a good observation and command point, and of course later on when, as the need arises, Alice has no qualms about taking her own tank directly into the fight. A big part of why this battle plays out as it does, with the way team commanders take initiative and react to each other's actions, is due to how similar they really are. As the Orari team tanks group up and continue their fighting retreat, several of the sub-commanders start to get an inkling that something is up, despite managing to knock out several more Persians as they go, including in some nice quick reactions by Naomi and Leopold team. And as one might expect, Senshiro Gurumika, watching, kind of, as her squad takes their knocked out tank home, sees right away that things aren't going as well for Orari as they might look. Too late, the main Orari group realizes that they've been herded into a dead end, in the amphitheater. While most of the Orari team is trapped down there, including Chiatan after a well-intentioned but poorly executed attempt to break the surround, it isn't quite over yet. The University team still needs to expend some force, holding Maho, Miho, Katyusha, and Erika's tanks, some of Orai's heaviest, at bay. And they also have to tackle an issue that many don't realize can be a problem. Well, as we know from our good friend General Kenobi, having the high ground usually gives you a tactical edge. That isn't always the case. And here's one such case. While it does look like the Persians can depress their guns enough, or nearly enough, to hit the Orari tanks at the bottom of the amphitheater without needing to drive over the lip themselves, it looks like it's a bit tenuous, and the T-28 absolutely needs to do so. Historically, one of the biggest examples of this playing a deciding role in a battle was in the Yom Kippur War in the Golan Heights, where in the northern Golan, there were positions where the Israeli tanks on the low ground could elevate their guns further up than the Syrian tanks could depress theirs, forcing the Syrians to expose themselves to fire and take very heavy losses in the process. While the T-28 needing to expose itself to fire down there isn't an issue, given that its armor could basically handle anything the Orari conglomerate team can throw at it, it does give Orari a little more time that'll prove crucial in keeping this from being the end of the match. Somewhat fittingly, the heroics of Rabbit Team here reflect another reality of actual warfare, that being how a single person or unit, or even just any single unexpected element, be the result of human action or something natural, can drastically alter the course of events. Vika Force in the aforementioned Yom Kippur War is of course a classic tank-related example of that. And here also, as we know well, that factor is the introduction of the Ferris wheel, which of course is a reference to Steven Spielberg's 1941, a movie Rabbit Team was watching before the match. Nothing in the university team's planning could have prepared them for a giant rogue wheel rolling right through their encirclement, and they're forced to scatter before it in the same way as the Orari tanks in the line of the rolling do. In a more meta sense, it's also worth noting that this scene was set up like this very deliberately, since the sloping sides of the amphitheater allow the Ferris wheel to do more than simply roll one way until it runs out of momentum or hits something. The added chaos of the wheel rolling back and forth, plus some quick thinking by Naomi again to shoot the Ferris wheel to send it in a more favorable direction, allows the Orari tanks to escape the surround without taking any losses here. So while Orari once again escapes a crushing defeat by the skin of its teeth, in this round they definitely came out on top, having just about even the odds, at least in terms of numbers, and punished the university team's attempt to bring things to a relatively quick end. And now everyone is drawn into the tight confines of the amusement park, where, for a while at least, the Orari conglomerate team will thrive in part 3 of the battle. The main battle in their film is obviously the most tactically complex battle in the show till this point, and arguably it still is even in the middle of Das finale now, between the scale of it and all the varied moving parts. And the show creators really put a lot of thought into every move and counter-move, keeping it all interesting and engaging, and more grounded than it even really needed to be, drawing on even more actual historical tank warfare tactics and factors. Also, the constantly shifting tides of the battle and the tactics employed help enable this battle, which in total lasts for nearly an hour, to remain interesting and engaging all the way through. It can't be overstated how difficult this is to pull off, coordinating a fictional battle like this with so many combatants in a way that makes it an engaging visual experience without getting tiring, but the team here manages to pull it off perfectly. And with that, the second part of the battle comes to a close. In some respects, the battle has almost reset, with the total number of each team's tanks being more or less even now, and just about all the involved tanks already being inside the amusement park battlefield where the rest of the fight will take place. It's going to continue being more of a knife fight from here on out for the most part, with small groups of tanks or even single tanks engaging each other at close quarters. And every single one of those engagements will matter. If you enjoyed this video and would like to support me in what I do here, my books and light novels are all available on Amazon, and you can get early access to videos, sneak peeks and updates on my upcoming military Mori manga and other projects by subscribing over on Patreon. I also offer channel memberships which get you access to monthly members-only watch-along streams, in which we're currently watching/rewatching Zoid's Chaotic Century. And as always, If you have any thoughts on this video or just anything related to Girls und Panzer that you'd like to talk about, definitely share them in the comments section below. I'd love to hear them, and while I might not get to respond to every comment, at least not in a timely manner, I can guarantee that I read each of them. And don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss any future uploads. That's all for now, so until next time.